And you're welcome back. Let's talk about Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic because they are offering a free prostate screening and free female fertility screening. And the location of that facility is there on the Accra Spintex Road opposite Shell signboard, so you can get them here in Accra. But for those of you who are watching us in Kumasi, you can get them somewhere around the Kronom Abuahia behind the Angel Educational Complex. For those of you in the Western region, you can find them in Tadi. That's the Anaji Estate, Tema Community 22. For those of you around that enclave, and Techiman as well, you can get the clinic there. It's at Hansua around Isiama Nzima. So you can call the Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic on 0244 867 068. You can also reach them on 0274 234 321, and you will be in touch with them. And Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic says that the end to your chronic diseases is with them. But we know that water is life. Wake is a premium purified water treated through a strict purification process to ensure that every bottle on the market refreshes you better. They have the perfect sizes for all of the purposes that you can think of, 330 ml and 500 ml bottles to fit your pockets and bags, 750 for the heavy drinkers, and 1.5 liters for those who always want more. They also have the 19-liter bottle, and that's very ideal for homes and offices as well. So all you must do now is to drink Awake purified drinking water, and wherever you go, just choose a bottle of Awake purified drinking water today and get a quality hydration system. It's very necessary. Awake purified drinking water, one for life. So remember, for every bottle that you buy, an amount is also being donated to the National Cardiothoracic Center, another quality product by Casapreco Company Limited. And if you want bulk purchases, you can reach them on 0262 351 251. So 0262 351 251. And this advert is approved by the Food and Drugs Authority. So that's it for Awake purified water. But don't forget that we're also having this big conversation around dealing with our high import bill when it comes to rice importation, because government has launched the phase 2 of the Planting for Food and Jobs campaign, which is targeted to reach out to some 1.2 million farmers. But how is that addressing our needs when it comes to cereals, especially rice, because that's one of the highest leading the import bills that we have as a country. And there are significant examples that we can point to from across the world, but here's what you need to know: that in 2020, rice was Ghana's third highest import, with a whopping import value of some $391 million, only behind refined petroleum and car imports. So you have some of the items there: refined petroleum, car, rice is coming through in that third spot with a red bar graph for you, just to indicate the levels that we have. $391 million is the amount involved, just coming close to cars. It tells you how dependent we are on that sector in terms of importation of rice. There's also refined petroleum. So taking a look at how, these are all key utilities for us, it appears that rice is also featuring on that list. But it's not really beneficial to us as a country, because the government spends as much as some 6.874 billion Ghana cedis on the importation of rice. If we could have saved that within our domestic economy, that would have transformed a lot of things for us. But looking at the journey from 2017 to where we are now, it's not helping at all. And according to the data from the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, total rice consumption in 2020 amounted to about 1,450,000 metric tons, which is equivalent to some per capita consumption of about 45 kg per annum. And it's beginning to raise concerns about how the country can significantly deal with that, looking at the fact that when it comes to milled rice production, domestically, we're not doing much. Our maximum metric tons is somewhere around 622,000, as compared to the average that we see of some 1,000 metric tons. We also have the minimum production level for milled rice being 181,000 metric tons, and this is all sourced from the Ministry of Food and Agriculture. But you cannot, of course, talk about imports without juxtaposing that to our local production. Local production appeared to be dropping significantly. It did from 2012 or somewhere around 2013 to 2014. Then we began to improve the policies towards improving the production. It went up by some 54% all the way to 56%. And when we got to 2017, the figures began to drop again, pointing us to where we are now. But let's get to it as to how we can help address the problem, because this is very much of importance to our food security as a country. I'll be telling you about those helping us with the discussion shortly, and pointing you to my guests for today, who have immense experience when it comes to helping out some other industries to be food secure when it comes to rice production. Abraham Daona Odum is an agribusiness consultant. Yao Edupoko is the chairperson of the Competitive African Rice Platform, GH. And Anthony Morrison is the CEO of Agribusiness. Good morning, gentlemen. And let me start off with you, Mr. Odum, because you've had the experience of working in other territories, specifically Nigeria, because that's a good example for us. That country, has very, very strict laws when it comes to shoring up local rice production. How can we start learning the lessons from such economies and improve and shore up our production here?
Good morning. Am I online?
We're with you, sir.
Okay. It's a matter of imagining how we want to do it, designing, then executing, and then creating what we want done. Let me first say good morning to your viewers, and also to congratulate the Minister for the launch of the Improve Planting for Food and Job program. I want to commend him for the effort that he put in by bringing almost all stakeholders on board. This is the first step. He brought almost all of us on board. We sat down with him, and then we imagined what we wanted to do with other food crops as well. And then he went to Parliament, and he went to Cabinet to seek approval. And that is what was launched yesterday. I want to commend him greatly for that effort. That is a first step towards the question that you ask. In Nigeria, what we did, we had a concept. We imagined what we wanted to do, and then we followed a blueprint. And because we followed the blueprint, we were able to achieve what was desired by the whole country to do through the various stakeholders on the rice value chain.
I see. And in fact, it yielded some results, you agree. But then if we were to immediately kickstart that conversation here in Ghana, what should be on top of the agenda for policymakers specifically, knowing now that the Planting for Food and Jobs campaign is in its second phase, which the President launched?
What is important is all captured in the document that was launched yesterday. In fact, at a meeting, we realized that we have to put the private sector in the forefront of the whole crusade. If we don't tackle the program from the private sector-led basis, we won't get any place. So the minister have actually bought into the idea that everything about planting for food now is going to be privately led. And by engaging various stakeholders, by engaging various interested parties, I'm sure we'll be able to make it this time around.
I see. Anthony Morrison, Planting for Food and Jobs now in phase 2. The concern of some experts and industry players is, let's now go big on rice. Anthony? We seem to be having a challenge reaching Anthony Morrison this morning. But Mr. Yao Eduboku is with us. He's with the Competitive African Rice Platform. Mr. Edu, the point about finding space for rice production in PFJ2, at least when the basis was being formed for the Planting for Food and Jobs campaign, the sector minister indicated that cereals are of concern to him. How do we find a much more wider space for rice production as we roll out phase 2? Mr. Edu, are you still with us?
Can you hear me now?
Loud and clear, sir.
Yeah, I said actually the answer you're looking for is sitting right in front of you. That answer is Honorable Jumaud. He was one of the architects of the success of the Nigerian experiment. He lives with us. He is very passionate about farming, especially rice. So where do we get all these challenges from? But thank God, yesterday, the young, vibrant minister relaunched the Planting for Food and Job. But the first question I would want to ask, Planting for Food and Job, the first leg, where is the data? What did we achieve out of it? After all the funds that was spent in launching that project. That will inform us as to the next step that we are going into. But for once, I see almost all the stakeholders gathered around the minister, and that is a good omen. But then we need to get the minister to understand that if we need, for example, 100 cities to get a project done and done properly, 5 cities will not do the project. 10 cities will not do the project. We need to get at least 80 cities to 90 cities. And then we'll know that the project will come to fruition. So we are all with him and going to see what will happen with this second
phase. Yes, we're all a bit about the second phase. And Mr. Odum, the point about having the farmers at the center of the policy. It's been a challenge over the years, the fact that we draw up the policies, we're not mindful of the unique, circumstances under which all of these small-scale farmers find themselves. That will be crucial for the success of this phase 2 of the policy. You agree?
Yeah, it's true. You see, Poku was there in a meeting at African Development Bank where they wanted to do a phase 2 of a project in the north. And we went there, and it was like a doctor who has prescribed without listening to the patient of what must be done. So we all spoke against it. It was started by one professor. He wanted to find answers, and then the African development people wanted to dodge behind bureaucracy. Then we said, no way. You cannot sit somewhere in Abidjan and prescribe without coming to meet the stakeholders. This is exactly what was happening before. And that is why I'm commending this minister for engaging the stakeholders, because we are on the field and we know the challenges and we know how it can be done. So if you don't involve us, how can you sit in the comfort of your room and then do some prescription for us? It won't work. And if you do it and we are going to apply it. How do we do it? Especially when we don't know how you wanted it to be done. So the step that the minister has taken, like Oku has said, is the best way. And almost all of us who were part of the discussion will have pledged our support. And that is exactly what we.
And for private sector investment too, would you say that what we have now is sufficient, or there'll be a need for much more to happen?
Want to do for Ghana? Because look at the staggering figures that you gave. Are poor.
Mr. Oduma, I guess you missed that. I was just asking about private sector investment as well. Do we have enough here in the country, or there'll be a need to show up the numbers?
Oh. Hello?
Mr. Oduma, I was just asking about private sector investment, that aspect. I mean, are we doing well as a country, or there'll be a need for more?
Yeah, we currently, I would say, not very well. But it's all because the sector didn't have any structured model for it to engage or to attract the private sector. Now, for instance, what the government is doing at Sopoli, that economic enclave, where they have started advertising, people can do agriculture without even going to the farm. You only bring your money onto a platform, and you have, say, 20, 30 acres being done in your name. At the end of the day, everything is very transparent. Your investment and then your profit will come out just like that. These are some of the structures we need to put in place. These are some of the structures that we recommended, and the minister agreed to work on, which he has worked on. So we are waiting patiently for the start of the project, and definitely we are going to make it.
The elephant in the room, yes.
With rice, you don't need so many years. 2-3 years, you'll be able to make significant impact.
Wow. Well, amazing. The elephant in the room, as I was pointing to, the issue about import restrictions, government interventions, possibly, just as the likes of Nigeria has done. Would that be the roadmap? Would that be the way to go?
Nigeria, we did a roadmap. When we started and were making the inroads, then we started conscientizing government that we are at this level. We are coming to this level next year. Next 2 years we'll be here. So we want you also to reciprocate by doing this and that and that. This is how we did it. You cannot just stand up one day and say you are banning the importation of rice. It doesn't work that way. You have to gradually do it in such a way that you don't let the consumers suffer.
Yeah, that's a critical point to take a look at. For you, Mr. Poku, the point about, trying to draw a roadmap or going at it at once, banning the importation, so as to show up or put pressure on the local economy for us to show up the production. Which will be the optimum way to tackle that? Hello, Yao Poku. Looks like...
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you, sir.
So the truth is that we are not in a position to ban the importation of rice. Even onion, we are not in a position. Simply because we need to fill the gap, and we are not ready to fill that gap yet. So we have to let it be a gradual process. Like Mr. Jumodu said, about 2-3 years, and then I think we'll be there. The sad story is that Ghana have abundance of land. The traditional rulers are more than eager to give their lands out for farmers. And we have a whole army of farmers who are willing and ready to go in there and farm. The point is that the yield is terrible because we don't get the needed infrastructure and training. And so our price is so high, it cannot even compete with the imported price. That is one thing we need to tackle. The other one is that rice is not just like planting maize or soy. You need a lot of input, which is not readily available. And so it becomes a very difficult job. Those things are what we need the interventions. As to the private sector, as you talk, yes, a lot of well-heeled business people are looking at the rice sector now, thinking about going into it. Their fear is that will they not be challenged with the imports, which is real. That would be a government decision. But that decision will only be able to be executed when government feels that we are in a position to supply or fill the gap, which we still are not there. So this is the situation we have ourselves in. Now, Ghana needs about 3 million metric tons of paddy, which will translate to about, say, 1.5, 1.8 million metric tons of milled rice. That is what we eat. We eat in excess of 1.4, 1.5 million metric tons of milled rice. The land and the people are ready. We don't have the equipment to make it together. So if we are launching the PFG2, this is where I will humbly plead with the minister to look at. Fortunately, he doesn't have to go looking for Mr. Jumaudum is there, Honorable Jumaudum is there. And he understands the soil, he understands the crop. So it's just a matter of tapping into his experience. And then we will get a very good program going, which will take out the $1 billion that we exchange our force for to bring right. And that will boomerang into, it has a chain destiny effect. It will definitely go into maize, and then once it gets into maize, soy will follow, and then poultry will also be available. So that all this money that we take to bring in these consumables will find itself into the local economy and enhance the wealth creation. This is what we need to look at as a country. But the fanfare, the drum play, the media, that is not where we should be looking at. I am grateful the president himself was there yesterday, and we are going to hold him to the fact that this time it has to work. That young man is a can-do young man. So I am very, very sure this time we are on the right track.
Okay. Abraham Odum, the point about technology, yeah, okay. Abraham Odum, the point about technology, it might be a challenge for us, isn't it? Because we need to do mechanized farming as well. How ready are we in terms of positioning ourselves to, make use of modern technology in agri, and even the procurement itself could be a challenge? Abraham Odum, are you still with us?
I say, what I said was technology. You are asking a question on technology.
Yes.
Is that not it?
Yes, precisely.
Yes. And I want to talk about Nigeria one. When we started, it wasn't too much emphasis on technology. Technology was done alongside the program in the gradual manner. Like Mr. Poku said, we have an army of farmers who are already doing it in the peasant way. If we aggregate them, in the case of Nigeria, for instance, we had 1.2 million farmers who were registered. We mobilized them. And then we said to them that we want each and every one to do a minimum of 5 acres. So 1.2 million times 5 acres, which you don't need too much technology, translated to about 6 million acres. 6 million acres, we are looking at a yield, like Poku said. If we are improving the yield to about, say, 2 tons per acre, then it means the 6 million acres times 2, you are getting 12 million tons. This is the kind of thing that we need to do, that immediately will not be cemented by this technology idea. The army of people who currently available, some are doing 5, some are doing 10. We only need to mobilize them, ensure that they get the right seeds, ensure that they get the rice, fertilizers, and other agronomical practices, and definitely will be able to do it. I am aware that a lot of the excuses go into the technology, irrigation. But I also think that we can make do with the current resources on hand to be able to make significant impact.
Anthony Morrison,
so in the long run, in the long run, we can be handling the technology, because at the end of the day, if you are bringing the technology, it's a matter of improving the yield, making sure that post-harvest losses are minimized. This is all about technology. But I have a strong conviction that what is currently prevailing, if the logistics are provided, we'll be able to do it without too much emphasis on technology. You go to India. If you go to India, for instance, they do their cottage industry thing based on peasant people, and they are making big impact.
Okay, let's hear from Mia Akufo-Addo, who's the Deputy Minister responsible for Agri. Fortunately, he's also joining the conversation this morning. Good morning to you, Honourable. We understand you're very, very busy and already on the grounds running for phase 2 of the Planting for Food and Jobs initiative. First off, since we're talking about rice production, how are you making room to shore up production, and what strategies do you intend to adopt this time around?
Hello?
Yes, Honourable, I was just asking about, the fact that we're talking specifically about rice production. We know that the PFJ Phase 2 has got to do with other sectors as well, but fixing that into the cereals conversation, how are you strategizing to improve yields and production within the country?
Okay, thank you so much. Greetings to you and your co-workers. Yes, we're talking about this program, the PFJ from 2017 to date. And we all know that we were dealing with the smallholder farmers from that point to this side. We did some review after the change of portfolio in the ministry. The new minister assembled a very good team, solid team, did lots of consultations with almost every stakeholder in the agric space. And we came out with this solid document that is going to take care of some of the shortfalls of the first PFJ, including what you're talking about, such as yield. Smallholder farming. The farmers have been feeding this country since time immemorial. But we realize that with the increasing population, if you still go on that tangent, the time will come not too far that we will hit with serious food shortages in this country. We've been fortunate that through the first phase of the PFJ and increased production, we've been able to have some level of food supply in the system that sustains us up to this day. But going forward, with the increasing population, now we are 32 million. If we still rely on these smallholder farmers, we may be overtaken by events. That is how come the emphasis is now shifting a little bit from the smallholder farmers to commercial agriculture. And what it means is that although we are not doing away with the smallholder farmers, what is going to happen, they are going to become outgrowers to the big farmers, through the aggregator system. Once that is done so effectively, the input subsidy that used to be the case is now going to be turned into input credit.
Yeah.
So as my minister has been saying, all you need is your land. All the input that you require to become a farmer will be given to you through the aggregator system.
I see, but of importance to us is the issue about high import bills when it comes to rice importation. Yes.
Yes.
How do you intend to deal with that specifically?
Exactly. That's why I was coming to.
Right.
See, once we go into commercial agriculture, and mind you, in all those countries that have gone far with the agriculture, only a small percentage of the population are engaged in crop production.
Right.
So you compare that to Ghana, where we have so many people doing small acreages around the country, struggling to feed us, to have a buffer that we all need to have, then it's not reason that we move into commercial agriculture. And where we get the production, the high production is this. The commercial agriculture, because it is well controlled and they go through very well rehearsed agronomic practices, the chances are that, and this one, there's an empirical proof everywhere, that the commercial farmers make the most of the inputs that are given to them, and they come out with huge crop yields. And that is what we are aiming at. The commercial farmers, we are looking at from 10 acres to the upper limit. Yesterday, we saw a certain farm, 2,000 acres. This is the kind of thing we are looking at. So once this is done, you can be sure that naturally all the inputs are given at the correct time, the aggregators are well equipped, they are linked to financial institutions, and we have all these things sorted out. What will happen is that there's going to be good harvest.
Right.
And once that is done, we are going to have a lot of process in the system that will go to feed industry. We have some for buffer.
So what mechanisms have you put in place to, first of all, tap into the wealth of experience that some persons we have, you know, the various CSOs, individuals and human resources that we have across the country, just to tap into the expertise when it comes to production, boosting production, and what are you doing differently now just to achieve a much more beneficial effect?
Yeah, exactly. You see, nobody is going to be left out in this exercise. Just as I indicated, almost every group that you can talk about in the sense of the agricultural space has been consulted. There was serious stakeholder consultation, and they can testify to that. Almost all the groups, if not all, including our development partners, the World Bank, FAO, yesterday, all of them were here to see buying into whatever we intend doing in this PFJ2. So we are assured of that massive support from all other stakeholders. Those who maybe inadvertently might have been left out, that we are going to engage everybody. Yesterday, the NDPC made a statement, and a very profound one, because whatever we are doing, doctors into the plans they have for this country, moving us from subsistence agriculture into commercial agriculture, that will ensure a lot of surpluses, and when mop up can feed industry, can kind of mop up, what do you call it, augment whatever you're doing in the school feeding program and all that. Buffer stock will be well established as buffer stock and all that. You know, establishing the warehouses, making sure that all the warehouses, an inventory is being taken at this time, both private and public. Every warehouse will have to know the location and all that. Then we can be sure that when the bumper happens, we can mop up, put in the warehouses system, but in the center of all this is aggregators system.
I thought that should have been the last one on my mind in terms of the questions that I have for you, but you cannot leave without talking about policy measures in terms of checking importation. Would you say that we're strong enough, sufficient in terms of rice production, and government at this point may be considering restrictions, possible ban on importation, just as we've seen the likes of Nigeria do?
Yeah, whatever policy you want to bring out, you just have to assess yourself. We don't have the kind of muscles Nigeria has. That is the point. And we just say that because Nigeria has that outright ban, we are also going to do same. But there is a program. We have a phase-out program. It's a 5-year program that we launched yesterday. And that program has some benchmarks as we move along. Year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, up to year 5. And in all the benchmarks, there is a conscious effort to limit or decrease considerably the importation of these things. And in Ghana, there are if you take poultry, you take rice, you take onions, and you take tomatoes. These are the 4 key areas that we spend so much money in their importation. And they feature prominently in this new phase where we have 11 crops and then poultry. These crops that are mentioned, the rest of the crops that we consume in this country, they are self-sufficient, adequately self-sufficient. But these 3, the 4 that are mentioned, they are the import heavy, and therefore we are conscious about that. And this new phase, everything is being done to limit considerably the importation of these items.
Grateful that you've spent some time with us this morning. Akufo-Addo, Deputy Agric Minister, joining the conversation. Anthony Morrison is with the Agribusiness Chamber. He's also joining the conversation. Anthony, the point about shoring up production, it's not as though this is something that will just happen overnight. If we're to achieve that, from your chamber, where do we start off from?
Well, thank you very much. I think that looking at our national priorities, of which we need to consider strongly areas where it's heavily imported areas. For instance, rice, poultry, we're looking at fat and oil, we're looking at fish. We need to take those things into consideration. And they're looking at the fact that the kind of amount that we spend or the food importation bill keeps growing up. Currently, we're looking at about 11.3 billion. We need to look at it and begin to make strategic investment into it. If you look at what the Economic Intelligence Unit has been telling us, I think that we need to focus more on an incremental budgetary allocation for the agriculture sector. If your food importation bill is in $11-point-something billion annually, and your investment into the sector is less than 1.5 billion, then I don't think we are doing the industry any service. Secondly, this PFJ2 is not also supporting youth involvement. I haven't seen a very strong pillar focusing on how we can increase youth involvement, knowing that we do have an overage population of farmers in the sector. We are also not this PFG as well is also not looking at the fact that we have challenges with our local seed industry, and quite often more, we import more or less 90+% of all our vegetable seeds. If you ask a lot of farmers within the grains and cereals, we import the likes of Anna, Lake, and what have you, and several others from India. And I think that there is a lot to be done. Yes, this PFJ spoke about the food or the price guarantee system. That is a major component. And I think that it cannot be integrated into this because it ought to take into consideration several others. And in fact, we also do have some quite a number of challenges. First, on the side of government, how committed are they to this policy? How committed are they with regards to making the right financial credit available? How committed are they with regards to aligning some of these strongly to our national priorities? And of course, we have a lot of government agencies implementing agriculture sector projects. Are we able to harmonize them and do a proper coordination so that there are no wastages, there are no corruption, there are no half-done projects or half-baked projects? And we ought to be making sure that monies or programs and projects that are brought in by development partners are actually achieving the ultimate goal and objective that it has been designed to achieve. So there's quite a number of things we need to do. Then also, we have seen that as a country, we kept talking about data. Are we going to look completely at the agriculture sector data? How do we make sure that in terms of production data, in terms of processing data, in terms of human resource data, in terms of trade data, all those things are in there, and it makes it much easier to design and actually put together a targeted objective that is implementable.
I see. Ibrahim Odum, we've just heard from the Deputy Greek Minister point out that enough stakeholder consultation has been done on this policy. You believe him on that? Ibrahim Odum, are you still with us? If you can hear me, sir, I'm just asking about what the Deputy Minister just told us about the fact that enough stakeholder consultation has been done on this policy.
Oh, yeah, and my answer is yes. I agree perfectly with what he said.
If we're to achieve what it is that we want to achieve, the belief is that we should go beyond, the boardroom level talks and bring in even the farmers themselves and to hear their sentiments on the matter. That's why I'm asking you if in fact what the minister is saying suffices, because there's a need for us to aggressively engage the farmers themselves. Hello,
can I come in?
Yes, this is supposed to be the minister?
Yes. Can I comment?
Yes, just go ahead, sir.
Yeah, can I comment on a little bit of the youth aspect?
Yes, as Anthony Morrison is talking about.
Yeah, in fact, the youth component of this program is huge. As the president said yesterday, everything that we are doing, when you want to attract the youth into agriculture, all they tell you is that I'm a fresh boy from school, where am I going to get this to start something? And we are saying that all you need is your land. Because you're going to have what we call the input credit. So everything that you require to become a successful farmer is going to be provided under this new phase. And therefore, if the youth within all the districts in this country are to take advantage of this situation, you don't even need to put things in black and white. It is so obvious. But the education aspect of it will be done, will be intensified after the official launch. We are now going to intensify the education at the national, the regional, and the district level, even to the community level, so that the crops that do well in every community, you try as much as possible, register with an aggregator, and that is all you need to do with your land area. That will be everything that we are going to do is going to be electronically captured. So your farm will be captured, will be monitored from the national, from the region, and from the district. So the youth, this is their time, and we are going to start the sensitization and education for the youth to take advantage of this new program. And with the consultation, let me say a little bit about the consultation. A lot more consultations were done, especially with leadership. For the farmers, for example, we cannot meet every farmer, but at least we met the Peasant Farmers Association.
Okay.
You see. So we'll be meeting the groups that are recognized, that have representation in all the regions. Yeah. And if you ask their leadership, they will tell you that in the last 4 months, we've had series of engagements with them. Okay.
I see. And we're hoping that will translate into positive impacts on the policy. Yao Edupoku, you have some final thoughts to share as we wrap up? I also come back to you, Anthony Morrison.
Sir, and I will say that with the crop of leadership that we currently have at the agri front, I pray that it works. I know Honorable Yafrimpong, I've interacted with him. Honorable Jumo-Odum is my chairman, actually. And Anthony Morrison, I belong to his chamber. So looking at the kind of interaction that we are having, it is very helpful. The point that we need to make is that at the end of the day, can we show the results of our labor? Planting for Food and Job phase 1. I am yet to see the data on paper that yes, we achieved this, we achieved that. because we all know from 2017 to 2023, food prices never went down despite subvention. So I'm hoping that this time around, if we are talking about poultry, we should have poultry on the dinner table every time we need it,
right,
and at a good price. This is what we call that we have achieved our target.
Right. And I'm grateful, Akufo-Addo Poku, for joining us. Anthony Morrison, you have any final concluding remarks on this? Anthony? Okay, we've lost Anthony Morrison as well. For you, Mr. Odum, as we wrap up, you have any final thoughts on this?
Our attitude towards projects and programs must change. And I'm happy the minister is going to use people who are impregnated with a passion to achieve what he has desired to achieve. In Ghana, what we have done is that we come out with solid programs like this. We give it to people who don't have any idea about such program, and definitely they make mess of it. I'm happy the minister now has come out, make sure that he's getting the right stakeholders to support him. If we change our attitude, both at the ministry and at the private sector will have to become more responsible and responsive. If I say responsible, you are given a facility. You make sure that you apply it accordingly and ensure that you get results. That is where we'll get it. And then those our brothers and sisters in the ministry will have to make sure that they are giving room for the private sector to operate rather than maybe stifle the efforts of the private sector. Once these two things get on board with the passion and the awareness that we all have, especially COVID, have drawn something to us. That if there's another COVID and we can't go out to buy and we don't have enough, how are we going to survive? I think it's enough wake-up call for us. So my conclusion is that the attitude of Ghanaian must change.
Yeah, and we need to start from now. Grateful. I mean, we spent a very exciting morning with all of you, to Akufo-Addo Poku, to Odum, and to the Deputy Agric Minister, and Anthony Morrison, for joining us this morning as we spent some time dissecting matters relating to importation of rice and also phase 2 of the Planting for Food and Jobs campaign. This is the AM show. We'll be back.